Hello, and welcome back to the HIPAA Insider Show. My name's Adam, and as always, I'm joined by CTO and founder of HIPAA Vault, Gil Vidals. Hey, Gil, how's it going?
Hey Adam, doing well. Looking forward to this podcast today.
Yeah, me too. It's been a couple of weeks. I know both of us have been kind of out. So yeah, I'm happy to get back into it. Today on the HIPAA Insider Show, we're diving into a topic really important for any organizations that are handling sensitive data, and we're going to touch on the healthcare data aspect, of course, as we very often do. But there's a lot of use cases outside of healthcare as well. So we're going to talk about Google Cloud's Assured Workloads. And we're going to discuss this from a beginner-friendly standpoint and then maybe dive into a little bit of the technicalities. We'll see how it goes. How's that sound, Gil?
Yeah, it can be an overwhelming subject, if you're not familiar with these security packages. And so we want to kind of take it at a high level, like Adam's saying, and then dive into the HIPAA portion of it a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So just give me one moment. I'll get my screen up. Let's see here. Okay, so just to start, can you see my screen, Gil?
Yeah, I can see it. It says
Okay,
control
great.
packages there. Yeah.
Great. So yeah, just to start off, let's talk a little bit about what assured workloads are before we dive into the control packages. So assured workloads enable organizations to, well, whether the organizations are in the private or the public sectors, to configure sovereign data and access boundaries with residency, access, and personal controls for sensitive workloads in the cloud. Gil, can you break that down a little bit? Because there's a lot of big terms there.
Yeah, so the assured workloads, we want to think about those as compliance workloads. So let's say that you're interested in HIPAA, your application needs to be HIPAA compliant, or you need FedRAMP, or you need GDRP. Whatever the case might be, you have to, let's say, turn on this switch, and you assure that your workload will fall under that particular compliance framework. So they have compliance assistant for the cloud. And you can think of it as a tool that creates a pre-configured controlled environment within the Google Cloud. And you have like a secure enclosure. It's like a dedicated secure box for sensitive applications and data. And then it has automated adherence, which ensures your environment automatically adheres to specific, regulatory standards like HIPAA, the ones we mentioned, HIPAA, FedRAMP,
Yeah.
and so
And that's
on.
where
And
the
then
control packages come in. So yeah, US data boundary for healthcare and life sciences being one of them, but there's a bunch of them. There's regulatory frameworks for uh, federal organizations like FedRAMP. There's the EU-based GDPR ones, and they even have country-specific control packages. Yeah. So okay. So what are some of the key features then that you're seeing here, Gil, when it comes to directly benefiting the application hosting from the HIPAA compliance perspective? I mean, we specialize in hosting healthcare applications in the cloud, right? And I would say that for all intents and purposes, because of HIPAA Vault's experience in this kind of field, we go above and beyond. But what do you think that the main value adds here are for, let's say, the novice that's just entering the space and has an application that
yes,
they want to host?
sure. So for these assured workloads, one important feature is the data residency control. So those are crucial for HIPAA, and they control where the data at rest is physically stored. So they specify regions, the data center regions, to keep the data within the compliant geographic area. So keep in mind with Google Cloud, they have lots of data centers. So certain data centers are designated for certain compliance regulations. So this will
Hmm.
keep your data in the right one. The other one is cryptographic control and key management. So Google encrypts the data by default. And the Assured Workloads integrates with the KMS, that's the key management, that you need the keys to decrypt and encrypt. So they manage that piece of it. And then personnel access controls that ensures Google support personnel accessing your workloads meet specific qualifications. For example, they're US citizens. And then also there's the continuous monitoring and auditing, real-time monitoring of environment for policy violations and alerts up for non-compliance. And they provide virtual audit logs as well. And then finally, policy enforcement. You have to enforce specific configurations for encryption, access, network security, logging, etc. So the policy enforcement is the other key feature.
Interesting. So it sounds like there's a certain portion of this is what benefits the client gets out of having an assured workload, for example, for HIPAA. But then the other aspect seems to be you're telling Google how you would like your data to be managed as well, because there's a certain amount that Google does in terms of upgrading the servers and providing support. So you, for example, for HIPAA, you're saying only allow US based persons to access the underlying infrastructure. So that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right, Adam. HIPAA is always a shared responsibility. So sometimes it's easy for the audience to get confused and say, well, I hit the magic button and you said it was going to be all HIPAA compliant, but it's a shared responsibility. And on your side, the audience's side, they can do things to ensure HIPAA compliance. For example, let's say that you hire 4 nationals to access your production data. That would be frowned upon. That would be outside of HIPAA compliance. You're supposed to use US citizens accessing that. So that would be obviously a violation that Google can't control. Or let's say your application that lives within this controlled environment, your developers failed to enable 2-factor authentication, so people can just log in with just the old style username password. They never enabled 2-factor.
Share the password,
yeah. So that you've again failed HIPAA compliance. So obviously there's lots of shared responsibility where Google can't control your application. Your application is under your developer's control, and the secure workload that Google provides, although very, very robust, it's not going to overcome the deficiencies of the application. The application needs to be secure as well. So I think that seems obvious, but it's worth mentioning because sometimes it does escape the owner, the managers who maybe aren't technical. It kind of escapes their paradigm. They don't quite understand that. They think that the assured workload is just going to auto magically make sure
one and done,
good. Yeah, and it's not. It's not like that.
Yeah. So you could have a scenario where we do have scenarios where a customer will come to us and doesn't necessarily need a particular assured workload, and we can set them up and be HIPAA compliant. And you can have another scenario where maybe they start from the point of an assured workload, and then we can help them out and go above and beyond when it comes to the additional things like IAM permissions and other aspects, right?
Yeah, things like the full setup and ongoing management, making sure the snapshots and backups are taken. Sometimes there's more granular access controls. For example, let's say that your application requires reaching out to some third-party service that's through an API. And so we may have to create a particular user for that API. And in this case, it would be not a human user, but an account, a service account, call it, that would be allowed to talk to that service. And so those are the kinds of granular things we may have to get into to make sure everything is working within the HIPAA framework.
Great. Okay. So Assured Workloads, powerful tool for foundational compliance, but companies like HIPAA Vault provides deep expertise and managed services to ensure the organization's truly and comprehensively compliant, right?
Yeah, and I think that's important to have that team behind it. So with HIPAA Vault, that's one of our strong suits, is to be able to administer and manage this complex environment and make sure that the application, the infrastructure, all of it's playing well together, and we're fully HIPAA compliant. Lets you sleep better at night. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for our our initial run through assured workloads. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions, give us a like, a subscribe. And what we'll do as well is check out the description on the video, and we'll leave some useful links if you want to dive into assured workloads a little bit more. And who knows, maybe we'll do another one, say on FedRAMP. How's that sound, Gil?
Yeah, that would be good. FedRAMP, we get asked about that often, so that's probably worthwhile doing that.
All right, fantastic. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of the HIPAA Insider Show. Thanks for stopping by. Until next time.